Hey, what's up, Homo Simpians, and welcome back to another episode of Simply PodLogical, a Simply Nailogical podcast.
Why?
I didn't like that.
No.
It's like Homo sapien.
I understand.
Would a Holo sapien have been funnier? Today's episode is brought to you by Holo Taco. Do you have boring nails? It's not a problem anymore. Holo Taco just did a little mini drop of 3 new creme polishes. We've got duct tape gray, green screen green,
No, just green screen.
banana hacks, and a reformulated royalty blue, which came out in the original launch collection almost 2 years ago. It's been reformulated with a wider, more easy to use brush and a smoother, more self-leveling formula.
That's right, but still the same amazing bright royal blue color. Yeah.
That's right.
What's your favorite shade of the new cremes?
Well, I don't want to start with an argument, Christine, but
It's not that kind of relationship cast.
you release a banana nail polish,
Yeah.
you call it Banana Hacks.
Yeah.
You don't name it after me, your muse.
I saw all the comments, being upset on Ben's behalf that it wasn't named Banana
Banana.
or Banana. I thought about it. That was one of my ideas.
Is there someone else? Is there something I should know?
Yeah, it's Troom Troom, actually. Troom Troom
got
one.
it. Put a banana in your ear.
It's not a problem anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. We didn't name it after Ben because I thought if, the average person was shopping on the Holo Taco website, it would make literally no sense. So that's
The
why.
average person, not
The
like a
average person.
Simply
Yeah.
fan.
But the banana hacks also should, remind us of some Simply Nailogical
It's an
nostalgia.
inside joke, too.
Yeah, it's internet nostalgia, banana hacks. Banana life hacks will solve all your life's problems. Or just use some duct tape gray, to fix things that are broken. And that's
It's okay.
it.
One day I'll forgive you. It's funny. Like the other day, I don't know, can I talk about this? Like Christine's like, hey, can I take some pictures of you wearing nail polish?
Yeah. Why is that weird?
Well, I don't know. I haven't seen them anywhere. Are you going to put them on Instagram or something, right?
You'll find out. Everyone shall find out in due time.
I shouldn't have let you. All right. Anything else to say on Holo Taco? Or
Nope. Just you can go to holotaco.com if you want to see what we have these days. I'm really proud of Holo Taco for growing its collection of cremes, like something you'd never thought that I would say. But
yeah, it's not really something
Yeah.
we thought we would do a lot of, but
but
yeah,
the people want cremes, and the people want good cremes, not drugstore runny cremes that take 17 coats.
that's right.
So we've worked really hard to get these cremes to be like amazing and like as unique color cremes as possible. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like the cremes we have and that we're gonna continue rolling out throughout the year. I don't want to be just the average shade in the drugstore. So that's kind of where I'm coming from at it. Yeah.
And people will see more cremes this year. Some you've already seen Christine leak way too early.
Oops, I'm sorry.
All right. On to today's topic. We're talking about YouTube money. Here's how it works. First, you get the YouTube.
And then you get the money.
Then you get the money. Then you get the power.
No, it's not. Actually, that's not how it works, but funny.
Then you get the boxing match. No, so we had a whole other podcast just on sponsorships, how much YouTubers make from sponsorships. But we've noticed, you get questions, and a lot of people don't even really understand how YouTubers get money just from
making videos.
making YouTube
yeah.
videos in the first place, without sponsors. So we open the floor to questions from the Simpians, the Simp Squad, the Super Simps. So let's see what they want to know.
I just want to preface this before we get into it with a disclaimer. I normally don't like talking about money, like in the sense of sharing, what I make or whatever. But the only way we can do this podcast is to talk about our own experience, obviously, because what else do we don't know the bank accounts of other people or other YouTubers rather. But I just we're choosing to do this because I understand why people are interested, and the reason why I've been reluctant to do this kind of thing in the past is because I never want to sound like, oh, I'm bragging or I'm talking about money in this way and trying to make other people feel bad. So I really hope people just see that from that perspective and know that I'm sharing this because there is a valuable interest in knowing kind of the background to this business and how people make money, because I also find that there's some YouTubers that are not very transparent about it. And not that everyone has to disclose their full income, what they get, but we have seen sometimes YouTubers kind of bend the truth of the matter when, like, I know for a fact they have $10 million and they basically, and like they act like they don't and they need help. And some of that really rubs me the wrong way. So I also feel like there is value in being just like transparent. If you have money, you have money.
Yeah, I guess our perspective is we think an informed audience is a good thing. People should know how much money people are making. But like no one owes you. Like you wouldn't just go up to a person and demand to know what their salary is either, right? I don't think people necessarily owe you that. If they're begging you to sign up to be a member or give them money directly, and they're saying they don't make a lot of money, maybe the onus is on them to sort of be more transparent. But a lot of YouTubers used to say, or you would see this a few years ago, where they would say that YouTube doesn't allow them to share how much money they make on YouTube. And I think audiences just sort of accepted this, right? I'm pretty sure that was never true. Like if you sign up for an AdSense account, which is how you get paid, there is a paragraph on confidentiality, and it says you can't share confidential information from Google. So if you sign up as part of a pilot program or something like that, you're not supposed to talk about it. I think it even mentions things like click-through rates or things about specific videos that you're not supposed to disclose publicly. But it specifically says in that clause that you are allowed to talk about gross revenue you make on YouTube. So not only does it not say you can't share that information, it explicitly says you can share how much money you're making on YouTube.
So when YouTubers have said to their audience, oh, I'm not allowed to tell you how much I make from YouTube, that was just
this has been the case for at least
accurate.
A few years. Maybe it wasn't the case way back in the early days, but...
And I have to say, when I heard YouTubers make that statement, and I was an up-and-coming YouTuber, I was like, oh, I guess I'm not allowed either. Like, I didn't really look into it or question it. I was like, oh, I guess that makes sense, I think.
But it's part of that thing, like the strategy. A lot of YouTubers are like, oh, I want to be relatable. How relatable is it to be like, I made $100,000 off of YouTube videos last month?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So to be clear, YouTubers are explicitly allowed to report their gross earnings.
You can share your gross revenue earnings from AdSense.
Just they don't owe it to their audience.
No.
But there is a reason why they don't want to. Yeah.
All right. Questions?
Oh, God.
All right. First one from Dizzy by the Daisies. How do ads actually work? Do we have to watch the entire ad for you to get money? What happens if we skip the ad after 5 seconds? So yeah, obviously people know that you often get skippable ads on YouTube. This was probably the most common question we got, and stuff about YouTube Premium. I guess just super high level, how do ads actually work? If your channel or content is eligible to be monetized, you sign up for an AdSense account. You're part of a YouTube partner program, they call it. And YouTube puts ads on your video and shares the money they make from advertisers with you. I think you make 55% of the revenue share. Yeah. So that super high level, that's how you make money off of someone watching a video that has an ad on it. Do we get money if you don't watch the entire ad or if you skip the ad? A lot of people ask this, and it's actually not a straightforward answer because it depends how the company bought the ad.
So the advertiser.
The advertiser, yeah. So there's a way of buying ads on YouTube on like a cost per view basis where if someone, they only have to pay for the ad if the person viewing it clicks on the ad or if they watch 30 seconds or more of it, I think. Because sometimes you'll see like a skippable ad that's like 3 hours long. As soon as someone has watched 30 seconds of that, it still counts. You don't have to watch the full hours, many hours of the video. But people can also purchase ad space that is skippable in a way where they're only paying for the impression. So as soon as a viewer watches, I think 2 seconds of the ad, that counts as someone having the impression of the ad. So they're just paying for that. So the answer is it kind of depends. Sometimes yes, sometimes no.
But I think that's why, just to simplify things, you'll hear YouTubers say, please don't skip my ads, because then that ensures that regardless of the way that the ad was purchased by the advertiser, there will be a benefit to the YouTuber.
I mean, I wouldn't overthink
theory,
it. If you skip the ad.
Yeah. Just don't.
I mean, if you're going around YouTube just thinking, I want to make sure the person I'm watching is making money, yeah, don't skip the ad or watch 30 seconds of it or whatever, just to be safe, I guess. But please use these services in a way that is convenient
suits
for you.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right, next question from Grilla. When does YouTube allow you to add ads, and do they earn you more money the more subs you have? You want to take this one, Cristine?
So, well, things have changed. When I
Yeah.
started on YouTube, anyone with a YouTube channel could basically get monetized, right?
Yeah, I guess you just had to apply for AdSense.
You just had to apply for AdSense, but there wasn't very much of an application process in terms of someone like screening your content. If you didn't get any views, then there wouldn't be any payout anyways. I think you had to reach a minimum threshold of like $100 balance in your AdSense account
For it to even be
actually
paid
get paid out.
Yeah.
Right. But now, as of a few years ago, they introduced new qualification requirements to even apply to be monetized on YouTube. So I think you need 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours, which is a lot. And I couldn't conceptualize what does that actually mean, because I don't think of my stats in watch hours.
Yeah.
So if someone like me posting the videos of my length of 10 to 18 minutes, it would take about 40,000 views
to get the 4,000 watch.
To get the 4,000 watch. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, that puts it in better perspective. No one's thinking in watch hours, right?
Right. And it really depends on the length of the content that you upload. But you have to have that amount in a 12-month period, I believe.
Oh, okay.
And even if you reach those criteria, you still then have to apply. And from what I remember from a few years ago when they introduced this, there was quite a long delay in them even processing applications. So they still have to manually, like a human has to accept you into the monetization program these days.
So these changes were a product of some controversies about what sort of content was getting ads on YouTube. The adpocalypse, as they called it. What was that? Was that back in 2017, 18?
I think so, yeah.
Can't remember exactly, but like basically very obviously not advertiser-friendly content. In some rare cases, we're ending up with ads on them. So you would see like a Coca-Cola ad on a video that like was by like some like violent extremist group or something like that. And there were articles about that in like the Washington Post, and it was getting mainstream media attention, and it was, YouTube had to make a decision in the long-term interest of its business and ability to attract advertisers that had a really detrimental effect on the ability of smaller channels to get ads at all. And a lot of people saw their earnings like drop to like 10% of what they were before that happened.
And even if you are eligible to apply for monetization, that doesn't mean that YouTube may not have put ads on your videos before that point. Because recently they started something called the right to monetize, I think. So they have a right to put ads on any videos on the platform, even if you're not part of the partner program. And I did see some upset over that. So that was a recent development. So if you're a newer creator and you're a smaller channel and you're trying to reach that threshold and you see ads on your video, that is a thing right now, even though you may not have been accepted into the partner program. Yeah, that's a recent development.
Okay. And just quickly, the second half of this question, do you earn more money the more subs you have?
So this is a really common question I get all the time, and subscribers do not directly correlate to your income. That being said, the more subscribers you have usually means the more views and the more people are watching, although that changes over time with like attrition and so on.
Having subscribers that don't watch your content aren't worth anything from a financial perspective, right? But it's definitely valuable to have subscribers, especially if they're receiving notifications. If they've turned on notifications, they're much more likely to watch the video, be notified there's a new video. And the performance of a video early on that has a lot of people actually clicking on it and actually watching it has a lot to do with how successful and how many views that video could get, especially when it's first released.
So yeah, so just to paint an example, if a YouTuber has 2 million subscribers and they get 100,000 views on every video, and then there's another YouTuber that has 100,000 subscribers, but they also get 100,000 views on every video. If all things are controlled with content and the number of ads, they make the exact same amount of money.
Yeah, hypothetically.
Hypothetically.
If anything, watch time is a metric that could be an indication of getting better ad rates and more revenue.
Right. There's a lot of variation in how much you'll make based on the quality of the ad or how much the advertiser is paying for the type of ad. Like unskippable ads cost advertisers more. And as a result, the YouTuber will get paid more for unskippable ads.
Yeah. And if you're in a small group of channels that gets a lot of views, or not views, it gets a lot of watch time from viewers on YouTube in general. It used to be called
Google preferred.
Google Preferred, right? Now I think it's called YouTube Select. But basically, like, there's a roster of channels that are getting much higher CPM payouts, much higher advertising rates, and more revenue on the average monetized view on their channel.
Yeah, so you get paid more for the same ad potentially on the same number of
Well,
views.
I think just
or maybe you get the advertisers that are paying more.
advertisers are bidding more
Yeah.
to be on the content of those premium channels, let's say.
Yeah, so Simply Nailogical is in that group, but my other channels aren't,
Yeah, that's
which is interesting.
Next one from Krista. Do you get to choose what type of ads will or won't be shown in your videos? For example, if you don't want a brand or type of business to show ads, can you disable those ones?
So this is one of those things that isn't as straightforward. It's not really yes or no. In general, the YouTuber doesn't have a choice to be like, I want these ads and these ads. Like, you don't get to pick.
It's not like a buffet.
Right. Yeah. Like the advertisers are the paying customer in this situation. So they're the ones who are saying, you know, what channels, what types of channels we want to be on that we're paying for. So as a YouTuber, like, I don't actually see any of this information. I have no idea sometimes.
You don't participate.
I don't
in
participate in that process. I don't see even what ads are playing on my videos in like a list.
Yeah. But you, sorry, to be very clear though, you can control. If you see an ad you don't like,
Right. So
you can specifically like take the URL of that ad, go into your settings and say, I don't want this ad to appear on my channel.
Right. So that happened to me recently. There was a very specific political ad campaign that was showing up. And so long as people gave me that unique URL, like there is a URL associated, as long as they gave that to me and I could copy and paste that and go into my AdSense settings, I could actually block that particular URL from showing up as an ad. But that's not the same freedom of as like me saying, I don't want any ads about toys or something.
Well, there is
a
so there
category
is another
exclusion,
mechanism to say I don't want ads of these topics. I think the concern there is usually you don't want to exclude a whole category of ads. Like maybe you do and you just don't want to see any political affiliated ads appear on your channel. I'm pretty sure that is one of the categories you can select and just not have it all. But like who knows how sensitive those are and what you're sort of limiting. I think it's easier and most people just think of the fact that like if there's a bad ad going around, I'll just pick that URL and put it on my exclude list.
So I've done that a couple times.
Yeah, I mean, leading up to an election, let's say, this was pretty. A lot of people were commenting if they were seeing ads about politics or certain politicians on content. And again, this is one of those things where a lot of YouTubers were really mad at YouTube about it, when it's totally in their control if they want to remove it from their channel. And
It's not all, well, it's most of the time it's in the YouTuber's control if they are independently operating their YouTube channel. Some YouTubers sign over access and like basically ownership of the monetization of their channel to networks.
Yeah.
And the reason they do that, generally speaking, is because the network is offering them better ad rates. So they sign over like permissions to monetize on my behalf, control my advertising on the channel. In exchange, they get more money. If you've given up that right to a network, it's not up to you. You don't have the decision power anymore to say like, I want to block this ad.
Yeah.
The network now has that power. So I did see in some cases YouTubers who were upset that they couldn't block ads couldn't do that because they no longer had control over their AdSense, but that was a result of their choices.
Yeah, but like for those people to be mad at YouTube because they gave up the right to monetize their channel to a network is completely unreasonable. And I'm sorry, there were definitely people who were just kind of like
Making it
virtue
YouTube's problem,
signaling
yeah.
and trying to blame YouTube for certain ads showing up on
Like,
their videos.
I'm trying to see both sides. I get it, and like I roll my eyes too, but I also think those YouTubers who sign on with the network didn't necessarily see the unintended consequences like this when they made the decision to sign up for that monetization program.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up networks. We should briefly touch on the fact that, yeah, like for a long time, networks would approach YouTubers and try to lock them into contracts and say, hey, we can get you more ad revenue.
Yeah.
Or a lot of the time it was a pitch of, like, not every time someone clicks on your video are they going to see an ad before it, right? So a lot of the time the networks would be selling you on this idea that we can sell more ads on your video. So more of the time when people click on a video, they are going to get an ad. That was like DEFY Media. I remember I talked to a guy at DEFY Media at one point because he reached out and said, we will guarantee you can make X percentage more money and have X percent more monetized views.
And that sounds like a very attractive pitch to most YouTubers. And a lot of YouTubers I know are part of a network for that reason. And there's other reasons, like they provide you with like funding and resources and hook you up with merch or podcast programs. And there's other reasons to sign with a network. But one of their primary selling points to YouTubers was like, we'll get you more money for ads.
Yeah. DEFY Media is an interesting example, though, because when they went bankrupt, they just sort of shut their doors while they owed a bunch of YouTubers a lot of money. And not just the extra money they made them, since to sign up with them, you had to give over the monetization of your channel.
Yeah.
So a lot of people's just base AdSense earnings for the last few months they were with DEFY just sort of disappeared into thin air.
And that's awful.
I mean, that sucks, but that's also kind of the risk.
It's part of the risk.
Take.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm not trying to be callous, but like you signed up with someone with the hopes of making more money in ad revenue, but the risk is you're doing it with some third party who, you know, isn't Google doing it for you, essentially.
That's why I'm so conservative and I don't give up power to anyone or anything. I'm way more on the conservative, cautious side when it comes to that. And like that is just an example of one of the reasons why I would prefer to have the control, even if I don't get maximum dollar.
Yeah. It's the same reason, sorry, just before I forget, like if you see an ad, like the Jimmy Kimmel show is owned by ABC, my understanding is that the ads you're seeing on that channel, like ABC has an ad department, or I guess Jimmy Kimmel has an ad department.
Yeah.
They're just selling the ad space on that channel themselves directly too. So that is something else you'll see. And that even explains in some cases, I think at one point, like Jimmy Kimmel had a video about like a tragic news event and it was monetized. But when other random YouTubers were talking about that event, all their content was getting demonetized and people were really upset about this. I'm pretty sure the answer was, well,
They bought up.
the Jimmy Kimmel show was selling ad space on that video. It wasn't being done through the YouTube partner program.
That's a really good point, and I think that's why you'll see that kind of thing only on specific channels that have that infrastructure to build out that kind of
Not
extra
many channels are
Yeah.
just trying to sell their own ad space.
The average YouTuber like me doesn't have that kind of thing in place.
No.
Yeah.
All right. Rand Cash, when was the first time you made more money from a YouTube video than from your real life job?
The real tea.
Real
Wait, is my boss watching?
Maybe. I don't know. Do you care? You've been pretty transparent about the fact that YouTube is much more lucrative than our government jobs. Like you can look like if you work for the government in Canada, our salaries are public, publicly available if you know what our position is, right?
They have to post them as a part of like government transparency. So it literally says on the internet how much we make. Well, not us, like it doesn't list our names, but just, employees of this group and level.
Yeah.
So I had to look this up because I didn't actually remember because, as we'll explain, YouTube income is very volatile. You never make the same amount on a monthly basis. It's not like my regular government paycheck where I know exactly what to expect. It's not like that at all. So it is harder to exactly pinpoint and be like, as of this date, I was always making more, because it kind of went up and down. But based on the analytics, as of November 2015, which was a year and 4 months into my channel, I was, in that month, I made more than I did in my job in that month.
So it's not a coincidence it's November. Any YouTuber will know that CPM ad rates, the amount of money you're getting per view, is going to be much higher in the holiday season when advertisers are paying more money to advertise their products for people Christmas shopping.
Great point, because if you fast forward like 2 months later, my revenue dropped from YouTube, and I was then making less than my day job.
So how many subscribers-ish did you have at that time?
So in November 2015, I had 270,000 subscribers.
Okay, that's a good number.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that is crazy to think that at 270,000 subscribers, remember the subscriber number doesn't matter, but it just kind of situates my channel in terms of like how big was I? What was I doing? To think that early on, I was making like the equivalent of my day job. And I guess we should, for those maybe who are just tuning in, we work as crime statistics analysts for the Canadian government. The salary, I think at that time was like 60 or 70K.
Something like that, yeah.
Annually.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's,
It put things into perspective for us, you know?
It just made me be like, what is life? Like, what is life? And then one other thing I'll point out is in November 2015, just to situate this on the life of Simply, that was before Polish Mountain.
That's right.
So I was popular on Instagram. Like I was pretty big on Instagram in the nail art community at that time. But I was not a big YouTuber by any stretch. Like I didn't have a YouTube partner manager. That's something interesting. Like I wasn't in Google preferred. I wasn't that important to YouTube, whatever.
Yeah, there's some stories
there. It was before anything of mine went viral. So, yeah.
There you go. All right. Next one from Jennifer Reynolds. Do you have to file any personal taxes in the U.S.? I heard something about YouTubers that live outside the U.S. now have to file since they are receiving income from the U.S. So yeah, this is actually a very recent development. Any creator outside of the US should have gotten an email about this. That's basically YouTube is changing the way changing how they characterize earnings paid out to non-US creators and considering them royalties under tax law now. And what that means is that it's very likely that it's subject to a withholding tax.
So what's a withholding tax, Ben?
I'm not your lawyer. I'm not your accountant. I'm not telling you what to do. But basically the argument is you are making, you have U.S. source revenue. You're making royalties. That's what they're calling the money you make off these views now. Specifically from viewers in the United States is what this applies to, right? So the portion of views on your channel coming from U.S. viewers are what we're talking about. So to the extent that those sales are happening in the U.S., the IRS's position is that you should be paying taxes on that.
And let's just be clear, it's not like Canadians or people, YouTubers in other countries aren't paying taxes. They have to report that income from YouTube and then pay the taxes to their own country. So they're still paying taxes, just not to the States until now. Yeah,
in a lot of cases, it's just ordinary income and you're just paying all your tax wherever you live. And taxation is mostly determined by your address, where you are, right?
Your residence.
In this case, so like if you were just paying taxes on royalties in the US, I think your tax rate would be like 30%. So the withholding could be as high as 30%, hypothetically. What is usually the case is countries usually have tax treaties so that someone in Canada, for example, can conduct business in the US without paying double tax. We should be eliminating double taxation. It just doesn't make sense. It's not fair. So in Canada, for example, if you earn royalties in the US, there's a tax treaty between Canada and the USA that says a Canadian person or business shouldn't be paying any more than a 10% tax for that income in that other state. So if you're making royalties, there should be maybe 10% withholding tax on those earnings held by YouTube from you. You get the rest of the money, and then you'll pay your corporate Canadian taxes on the rest of the money. And YouTube or any other payer of those royalties at the end of the year should give you a tax form that says, this is how much money we withheld from you to pay to taxes in America.
So just to simplify it, sorry,
Was that
no.
complicated?
That was a great explanation. But just like the average person's be like, so what does this mean in the end? Am I paying more in taxes if I'm a Canadian creator and now this is a new rule?
You shouldn't be.
So no.
Well,
Presumably no.
so if you get that form that says
Yeah.
how much tax is withheld, in most countries, I think it's fair to say, you should be able to claim those as foreign tax credits.
So it's like a credit. Yeah.
Because you've already, again, the whole point of these treaties is that you're not getting doubly taxed.
Okay.
So as long as you're sort of the amount of tax owing for you back in Canada or wherever you actually are paying taxes is less than what was withheld, and you can sort of claim those credits, you're not going to be doubly taxed. Your tax filing might look a little more complicated this year than it did last year.
Yeah.
And I know there's been a lot of confusion about this point. And you should get a legal opinion from someone real or talk to an accountant about whether this withholding even applies to you. Because it's not like there's a one-size-fits-all answer here.
Right. And there's some people who operate their business as like a corporation like we do, and other people just aren't at that level yet. They're just operating as a personal income. So different things apply as a result. But what would you say to people? Because I think the biggest point of confusion is people saying, for example, I'm Canadian. Why am I paying taxes to Americans? I live in Canada. I literally never go to the States.
Oh, you want me to take
What's the answer to that?
you're making that money from, that's U.S. source revenue, right? But here's the thing, like, we're going to see a lot of changes in tax laws in the next 10 years, I'm guessing, because different countries are trying to figure out how you make money with a
Online.
digital economy. Yeah. So,
Right.
yeah, this is very much an evolving space.
This is new for YouTube. YouTube for the past 12 years has never. This is new, right?
Yeah.
This is the first time that at least we're seeing this as Canadians.
And YouTube also can't tell you, like,
What to
how
pay,
to file.
yeah.
Like, it's not their job to tell you how to pay your taxes either, right?
It's just it's unfortunate because I feel for the smaller creators, like the small creator in Canada listening to this
Sure.
right now, and like they're not hiring expensive tax lawyers who are cross-border experts to like figure this out. So I understand why it's really frustrating, and there's no clear instruction because YouTube legally cannot give that to you because it's different for everyone's situation.
All right, that concludes tax talk for today.
I hope that was helpful though.
All right, next one from Bailey. How much difference is there when you have a mid-roll ad with no sponsorship versus a sponsored video? It seems like it's like a significant one. I think we talked about this in the sponsorship podcast, but typically people are probably making much more money from sponsorships than ad revenue.
It depends.
If you have like an ad from YouTube on a video and a sponsor in a video, there's a pretty good chance you should be charging the sponsor for that video more than you're making from the.
And the reason why is I think it's easiest to appreciate it as like if I'm talking to you and telling you buy this product, I'm using it right now, then you're seeing me, someone you chose to click on, someone you subscribe to maybe and watch, like talk about it. So the ability or the effectiveness of that advertisement of it coming out of my mouth is higher and presumably better than just it coming up as like a skippable ad before any video.
Yeah.
So that's why a YouTuber would presumably make much more money from a sponsor paying them directly to promote a product rather than just like a quick ad coming up before the video or a mid-roll ad.
Sure.
Doesn't
And this
matter.
is like a one-to-one comparison because I guess there's nuance here, right? Maybe you like insert 10 ads into your video
Good point.
compared to one sponsor. Or maybe like, here's an interesting thing. Sometimes like an offer comes in from a sponsor and they say, you can't monetize your video maybe ever, or maybe just for a certain period of time, right? So you have to calculate in their head, is what they're offering you worth more than your ability to monetize that video over that period of time too?
And then another point I just want to add about mid-roll ads specifically, the creator can choose, as long as the video is 8 minutes or longer, I think is the current rule.
Yeah.
The creator can decide where they go and how many there are. And just as an experiment last night, I went in to see how many I could add. I like picked an old video on the Simply channel, and my videos are no longer than like, I don't know, 18 minutes. And I could add like 20 of them, to the point where there were so many little lines in the footage of like where an ad break was that like I couldn't do it anymore. And then I just got tired of this experiment. So I stopped and I deleted them. But like in theory, you can add I don't know the limit.
Yeah, there must be some limit where it sort of crashes, but I'm sure trolls have sort of tried
it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I've clicked on a video before and you see like a stupid number of yellow lines showing the ad breaks, right?
But I just want to be clear that like I've heard some people say it's out of their control how many ads play on their videos, and I think that's true if they don't have the right to monetize and YouTube is overriding them. But if they have like 16 ads and there's little yellow lines everywhere, they put those there, or their network put them there.
Well, no, to be fair, when YouTube lowered the threshold to 8 minutes to have multiple ads in
But
your
they added
videos,
one mid-roll, from my understanding.
but they retroactively went back and automatically added that to people's content without them having made a choice, right?
But they added one, was my understanding, not like 16. Yeah. So.
Yeah, that's fun. I mean, on a long video, it's pretty fair. Like on these podcasts, they're usually about an hour long. There's what, maybe 3 ad breaks usually, something like
3
that?
3 to 4 is usually what I'll put.
Yeah. And remember, like on television, what's the line? This hour has 22 minutes? Or I think it's like a half-hour episode of television would typically only have 21 minutes of content or 22 minutes of content.
That's a really good point.
The other 8 minutes are ads.
So YouTube is so much better because ads are no longer than like 10 seconds, 15 seconds.
I would say so. And
I would much prefer that.
Ads are much more effective on YouTube than they are on TV too. I think the data backs that up as well. Next one from Pixie Dust. Does paying for YouTube Premium benefit your channel or does it hurt it? I like paying for downloads so I can listen offline in my commute from work. It's also great not having ads. This is another question that doesn't have a very easy answer. It could depend on a lot of factors. The money you make, someone making YouTube videos still makes money from people who pay for YouTube Premium watching them. YouTube Premium just means you pay a monthly fee to watch YouTube videos without ads, and you have the ability to download stuff offline and things like that, right? The way creators get paid out for people watching that way is it's like a calculation. It's not entirely clear, but it's basically, it's proportional to how much other YouTube content that person consumed, let's say. So if that person is only watching you and only you, and they're paying $10 a month or whatever it costs these days, then there's a good chance you're making more from that YouTube Premium person. If YouTube Premium people watched like one video of yours for like 10 seconds and clicked out, and then watched hundreds of hours of content from other people, really good chance you're not making much from them at all, right?
What that does is the more content you watch as a viewer, it dilutes your contribution to the YouTubers that you were watching, if that makes sense.
And this question is also entirely dependent on how much the YouTube creator is making from just regular ads on their channel. Because like we already sort of indicated, some people are getting paid a lot more per view than other people. Like if you're in YouTube Select and you're a premium channel that gets good ads, there's a good chance that could be the difference between you actually making more money on ads than on the subscription model.
I hope that everyone watches in the way that is best for them. And if you watch a ton of YouTube and hate ads, YouTube Premium might be the best solution for you. I have YouTube Premium on Simply Nailogical, but actually only because YouTube just like forcefully gave it to me because it was part of being in the
They
Google
didn't.
program.
They offered it to you.
But like, I don't think I had a choice. It's like I can't toggle it off. Like,
Oh, really?
it's just part of, yeah, it's just part of the channel now. So when I'm watching and I'm logged into that account, I don't get any ads. But all of my other logins are, I have not purchased premium in major part because I want to see what kind of ads are being delivered on YouTube. Just as someone who like works on this platform, I think it's important for me to see how are things being monetized, what kind of ads are going on the platform. So that's my personal choice. And I also know that watching with ads does seem to help the creator. So I don't mind seeing ads when it's on a video that is someone that I support.
All right, next one from GB. I've always wondered if YouTubers can see when people click off their videos and what counts as a view. The first second of the video or as a percentage of watch time. We can see when you click off, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do this more for the podcast than anything when I'm uploading the audio version. If I look back at previous episodes, I can see a chart of when it drops, like when people are likely to click off, right?
So there's always a retention metrics that kind of shows you a survival curve, and it's usually pretty steady, and it just slowly over time there's attrition of people clicking off. But on some videos where there's like a big reveal coming, like there's a big suspenseful moment that's going to happen at minute 8, and then it happens, you see a huge drop. It depends.
Right. Yeah. So that's interesting. In terms of what counts as a view, I'm actually not entirely sure, but from the monetization perspective, 2 seconds is what counts.
2 seconds of watching.
If you start watching an ad and you click X or back before 2 seconds, it's not going to count as if you watched that ad.
Okay.
I'm not sure if that same logic is applied to how video views are counted, but from a monetization perspective, I don't think it matters, right? Because if the ad was delivered, I don't think if someone's watching an ad and then the video starts and they click out, I don't think it really matters, right? Because the ad was still delivered.
It doesn't matter to them financially, but it might matter. I don't know. That might not count as an actual view in their metrics for like views.
I'm not saying a lot of people are going around watching commercials and then watching the content. Next one from Aton. Would you say that monetization system got better or worse since you'd started your channel? Would it be as profitable if you launched it in 2021?
That's a really tough question.
It's impossible to answer, right?
I'd be 32 starting YouTube. I mean, I was 26 before. Still old.
YouTube was a very different place in 2015, 2016.
Mostly life hacks.
Early on, when we talked to people in the industry, we got the impression that we were a little late to the golden age. Because there was a time when there were very few YouTubers and, with less people to divide it between, some of those people were doing very well just because there wasn't like saturation of the marketplace.
That's a good point.
CPMs were good when you started. Then all adpocalypse and all these drastic changes happened. And ever since then, it's been a pretty steady recovery. And, the kind of money you're getting paid proportional to your views on your channel now is really good, I would say, even compared to when you started too. So
yeah, it's the same, but I think it will differ depending on the YouTuber, because I am generally family friendly, or at least not totally offensive, let's say. I have the advantage of not being demonetized frequently, let's say. So I am in the pool of people that are like approved for ads. So I think maybe there was some benefit to those people after apocalypse. Yeah.
Speaking.
Oh,
no.
Nope.
Next question. Do you still get revenue on older videos, or does YouTube eventually place a cutoff on when a creator can earn from that video?
So this is a really interesting question. And I like over the past few years when I've looked back at older stuff, I'm pretty shocked at how much revenue is, or how many views are still being incurred on videos I posted like 2 years ago.
It's those residuals, right?
Yeah.
This recently came up in Tiffany Ferg just published a video about why YouTubers take breaks.
Shout out to Tiffany, because I took a break a year ago.
Yeah, you came up in the video, actually. A lot of it was about Sophia, because Sophia published a very eloquent blog post explaining her decision to stop posting as much last year. But yeah, sorry, in the video, one of the concluding sections, you know, she does, Tiffany does a very good job of outlining a bunch of different reasons for it, hypotheses. But then at the very end, one thing she considers is a lot of these big channels that take these breaks, if you look at their analytics, the amount of money they're making just based off their back catalog is likely very significant still. So maybe that contributes to someone's willingness to take a break as well, right?
Yeah. And can I give a specific example?
I mean, you don't have to give exact numbers, but do you want to?
So Simply Not Logical is not a completely dead channel, but I don't upload there frequently. It's my second channel. I used to upload there more when I had outtakes. But there was a period in the last few months where I hadn't uploaded in like 6 months or something. And I just looked at it and it said the estimated revenue was like a couple $1,000s.
Even though it had no content for a long time.
Even though there was no new videos posted in the past 6 months.
And that is even a second channel, right? Like if we were to do the same thing with Simply, like even on a given month, the number of total views you get in a month from Simply, let's say, I would say only a small fraction of those are coming from the new content, generally speaking. A lot of them are coming from that older content. And if you look in your analytics at like top earning videos, it's funny that some will pop up that's just like a dollar store video from like 3 years ago for some reason. Yeah.
It's kind of interesting to think about because I don't think many YouTubers see the creation of their videos as investments themselves, because most of the revenue comes when you first publish the video and most of the views are incurred. But if you have like a whole inventory of hundreds of videos across multiple channels, all of that work is an investment in a way in your future. And I don't think the average person thinks about it that way.
It really depends on the kind of content too, right?
Yeah.
Like some content is evergreen and some content isn't, you know? If you're covering like current events, how many people are really going back and watching that old content? Probably not. But if it's just a video that is evergreen, is relevant all the time, it's nail hacks, and someone 5 years from now might just be searching for nail hacks on YouTube, That's still really likely to find that.
Yeah, so my nail hack videos, my how to grow your nails videos, and some of my makeup videos are some of the top who still get views today, even though they're 3 years old. Yeah, it's interesting.
Next one from Simply Sock. Have you ever been disappointed in the amount of money you received or thought a video would do better?
Disappointed in the money.
Disappointed?
Yeah, no.
I mean, what do you think?
I am never disappointed in the idea that I can paint my nails and do silly things and get paid to do it at all. So compared to what I do in my day job, which I consider to be very serious work that I worked for 7 years in school to qualify for, went through several competitions at work to get where I was. To me, it is the idea of being disappointed in how much money I make on YouTube is unfathomable given my other life story of my day job work. I don't know how else to put this.
No, I think I know what you're saying. Like, you have a certain perspective a lot of people don't.
I wonder if like big YouTubers would argue, well, you have the security of your day job to fall back on, so you don't need to worry if your YouTube revenue dips. And I think while I completely understand that if you're like a smaller creator and your monthly earnings really are necessary for like your livelihood, if you're in the similar tier as me in terms of like views and revenue on YouTube, like you're good. And it's just the attitude sometimes I see from people of my tier acting like, when they're demonetized, it's the worst thing ever, and saying things like, how would you feel if your boss cut your revenue in half?
I get that. Okay. And I guess what you're saying is like, at the kind of success you have and a small number of people have, in a matter of a couple years, 2-3 years, if they're smart with their money, they'll have made more money than a lot of people working for 30 years until retirement will have ever made, right?
Exactly.
So that sort of puts things in perspective. I don't want to, like, obviously we're touching on like demonetization, people complaining about demonetization. I will say, like, this affects smaller channels too, right?
Yeah.
And even bigger channels, I think there's some legitimacy in complaining about it, especially when you see people trying to cover news or like not even controversial topics, but like there should be a way of talking about serious stories on YouTube without getting demonetized. If I'm a guy like Phil DeFranco, I understand why it drives him nuts that he's just trying to cover current events and his videos are getting flagged as not advertiser friendly. And I could turn on CNN and they're putting ads in between coverage of like some mass shooting. You know what I mean? Like, I understand how frustrating that is.
And I wasn't targeting those people at all.
No.
Like, not at
We
all.
we usually play the other side of this argument, so I'm just, I guess, trying to
Trying
give
to balance it. I
some
understand.
balance.
I'm coming from the like where I feel like a lot of the audience is coming from. I think that's mostly my position of this kind of frustration that this person is being just so unreasonable and entitled. And that's the vibe I get from some people. Not every YouTuber. Just want to be clear. Just occasionally, like, I get that vibe and I roll my eyes, and I think a lot of the audience feels that way too.
Yeah, especially if they have memberships on their channels, if they are reading out ad reads on their videos, if they're doing all of this and they have merch and they have all these things, and they're still complaining about like some of their videos are getting flagged or claimed. It's like, I mean, it is still frustrating, but it's like, I think you're doing okay based off everything else. And like the smart advice to give YouTubers, especially as they're becoming successful, is to not just be reliant on AdSense, right?
Diversify.
Absolutely. Yeah. All right, next one from Nailify Life. When you get demonetized, what does YouTube tell you? Is there a way to reverse it if it was wrongfully demonetized? Do you have
I use that sound effect.
So you have some experience. Some of your videos
Yeah.
have been flagged. Is it always obvious why they were flagged?
So sometimes I have a couple videos on Simply that were demonetized. They were almost all demonetized in that 2017 period of the adpocalypse. And they were demonetized like a year after I'd posted them. They'd been up on YouTube for some time, fully monetized. And then I got an email. And sometimes I didn't even get an email. I just like checked in my settings and all of a
Yeah,
sudden
it's
there was a
changed.
yellow icon instead of green. And I'm like, what's going on here?
But does it say like why it's yellow?
So it gives you a high level category that could be something like profanity or sensitive events or discussion of something else. Like it's very high level, but it doesn't tell you the timestamp in the video. Like where like copyright will tell you which timestamp in the video there was audio that was, not yours or that was claimed. So I struggled sometimes with like understanding exactly why some of my videos were demonetized. And the only reason I found out why they were, because it wasn't obvious, because like sometimes I, said shit in a video or I said fuck this and like it was all jokes, but I didn't know if that was causing it, is I had emailed my partner manager, which I only have because I'm in Google's special program, and had him specifically contact monetization people and like dig into it and ask why, so that I could get feedback to know what it was specifically, so that if I could prevent it in the future, that I would take that information and do that. So one of the examples I remember was I had a thumbnail that said WTF, and I think it was bubble nails, like where I put gum on my thumbnails. So that video was posted in like 2015.
On your thumbnails or on your real nails?
On my real nails. And my thumbnail. And it was demonetized like 2 years later.
Yeah. So in that case, you were able to just take WTF out of the thumbnail.
I changed the thumbnail.
And
then
they
I
reviewed it again, right?
resubmitted it. And then a human reviews it when you appeal and resubmit.
This
And
process
it was
is
approved.
somewhat available to people not in the top creator program or whatever they're
Oh,
calling
yes.
it.
Yeah, there is still an appeal process. You can appeal demonetization. And there are ways to make edits to your videos on the back end, and they have like an editor. And of course, you can change your thumbnail. If it's a thumbnail or a titling thing, that's very easy to change. But I understand why people have said that it's kind of frustrating not knowing exactly what was demonetized. And in some ways, I understand why YouTube isn't spelling it out every single time, because a lot of the time things are demonetized. It's an algorithm picking something out. And it's really hard to specify, like, well, you said shit at exactly this minute, but maybe it wasn't that one word. Maybe it was the accumulation of, like, you said the word shit 17 times. And like, they're not going to waste their time typing that out and explaining and giving context to it.
Well, if it was done by a machine, they might not even necessarily know the exact thing.
Right.
Sometimes YouTubers just sort of learned rules, like a lot of people know now not to swear
in the first 30 seconds.
First 30 seconds of a video.
So that's why we can swear now, but not at the beginning of the podcast.
Yeah, so people just sort of gradually started to learn what sort of things were triggering algorithms, let's say. I think what's really frustrating is when things are manually reviewed and still coming to strange conclusions, which you hear examples of this once in a while. And it's because,
Well, it's frustrating if you didn't get the feedback to know exactly what to fix. So if you try and fix it and you think you fixed it, but you didn't ultimately know.
But also, like, okay, you're in a tier of creator that, you have a contact there, so you can ask questions. If you're just appealing through a very generic process, like, hey, why was this video flagged? Your content, if it's being reviewed by someone else for a manual review, who knows who is actually doing that?
Yeah.
And who YouTube contracts out or how they manage that process. And, it's not always going to be a perfect conclusion they necessarily come to, right? Anyways, let's knock out a few more. Hokaj Hannah, is there a video of yours that you were really surprised got demonetized? What was it demonetized for?
So Polish Mountain number 2.
The clear
one. The Clear Adventure was demonetized during Adpocalypse.
Yeah.
And that is because, and we confirmed, in the beginning I go through comments, like in a comedic way, I'm going through comments of the first Polish Mountain, and it was a lot of like people saying, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
This is fucking stupid.
There was a lot of profanity.
There was a lot of profanity, even though it was joking and not like said against others or in a harmful way. YouTube still decided that was not advertiser friendly. So as a result, my most popular, most viewed video, which is Polish Mountain number 2, is no longer monetized.
Which, speaking of residuals, that video was making you a significant amount of money still years after the fact until it was demonetized, right?
Yeah, really good point. So,
yeah.
Oh, we should say that being demonetized doesn't mean $0. It actually means...
Well, if you're actually demonetized, yes. If you're getting the yellow symbol, not advertiser friendly.
But YouTubers will say, I've been demonetized, and it's the yellow symbol, but that actually means limited or no ads most of the time, if it's a yellow symbol. But that specificity is not something that that audience really cares about. But what I know from having my icons turn yellow is that it says limited or no ads. And I still see like a few bucks come in from those videos because limited ads are being served. And I think what that means is there are some advertisers that have chosen to be okay with videos that are not suitable for most. And they're like, I don't care. I'll pay for ads on that. So there is still the possibility that a creator's making a little bit, but pretty much like not very much compared to if they were fully monetized.
Someone brought this up at a YouTube event once. It was a Q&A, and someone asked, like, why doesn't YouTube just, ask advertisers if they're willing to advertise on quote unquote adult content? Because there's probably a lot of advertisers that don't really care if their video is appearing on.
Well, this is that. But I think most advertisers just think maybe it's too much of a risk, and they're like, I'd rather be safe.
I think YouTube has put a lot more emphasis on like sort of family friendly, safe content more than they've appealed to advertisers about, here's some channels for you that talk about like edgy things and swear a lot, right?
Yeah.
I'm not saying they need to appeal to that, but it is interesting that, like, I wonder if you'd ever see, it would be like the opposite of a YouTube Kids. It would be
YouTube adult.
Like, hey, advertisers, are you willing to advertise on these edgier
I'm
channels?
gonna upload Polish Mountain 2 to it. So controversial.
You used to swear a lot more in videos, particularly.
Yeah.
There was a period of time where your videos got like really profane. I don't know if you were just like angry about something in life around that time, but
I don't know. I just did, and I just changed. But yeah.
yeah. Anyway, Dominique Passarelli, what Simply video has made the most money? Are we going here? Simply?
I did look it up. And surprisingly, ironically, it was the dollar store nail art video.
So not Polish Mountain.
Not Polish Mountain.
Because it was demonetized, right?
No. Polish Mountain 2 was demonetized.
Sorry.
Polish Mountain #1, which is my second most viewed video, still didn't make as much as the top earning video because it was before I was in the Google Premium or whatever.
Your CPMs weren't as good.
And it was before there was mid-roll ads or multiple ads.
Yeah,
I'm
you
pretty
weren't.
sure.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have those on. So
Interesting.
at the time, yeah. So I think that's why. So when Dollar Store came out, that was in 2018.
Okay. So the money you've made on it since it was uploaded in 2018 is the most
Correct.
of any video. Okay.
I've made like over 50K on that video. It's just funny that it's the Dollar Store one.
How important are thumbnails actually, says the Gaelic Garlic Girl. I'll never forget going to VidCon the first year, and we sat in on a seminar, and a really popular vlogger got up there and said, I spend more time on my thumbnails than I do making my videos. And we looked at each other like
Confused.
that's crazy. We're like, really? Because at that time you were like, still to some degree, you often make your thumbnails kind of at the last minute.
I make them the morning of, usually.
Yeah, right? But yeah, I don't know, maybe unfortunately, thumbnails are super important.
So let's explain why. Like, why are thumbnails so important to getting views?
Because people click on the thumbnail.
Because it's the first thing you see.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Oh, this is like a trick question.
No,
or
it's the quality of the video, although it doesn't preclude like really well-made videos from doing well, of course, and being promoted through an algorithm. But the first point of contact is the thumbnail. So if you're, attracted to some rainbow crazy eyeballs sticking out of your head like thumbnail, more people are going to click on that. And that's why a lot of the life hack oversaturated thumbnails and like just like troom style thumbnails, 5-minute crafts, it's just like ridiculous. Why is there a glue stick inside your mouth? But I want to
click on that video.
So it's thumbnails like that got people the views and not necessarily the video itself. That doesn't mean that there's tons of effort in Troom videos. Let me just say, it's amazing quality.
In defense of Troom.
But
the answer is they are very important.
And I should spend more time on my thumbnails. But
and last question from Rosie Michelle: what are your views on subscription services like Patreon that give people exclusive content?
So it's not something I have currently.
There is an equivalent on YouTube now. Like there's memberships for channels.
Yeah, that started a couple years ago. And I have the option to turn it on. I think most... Yeah. Do all YouTubers have that option now? I'm not sure, actually, to turn on memberships. But I don't turn it on because I have no reason to turn it on. And I also don't think I'm giving the audience anything that there's anything additional I can give the audience of value for that $4.99 or whatever it is. I guess you pick what it is.
If you were to turn it on, you would want to know that you're actually delivering value to those people in addition to what you're just doing for everyone, right?
Right.
So I guess that's where we mostly just have a bandwidth issue and we're like, don't really know what that would be. I would say these models make a ton of sense, particularly for smaller and emerging creators.
Yeah.
If there's, a tiny creator out there you like, they're probably not making much money from sponsors, from AdSense.
Yeah.
And, if for the cost of a cup of coffee a month, you're willing to support them in that way, I think that model makes a ton of sense. I always feel a little weird when you see giant creators doing it, particularly if they're not really, like at the end of the day, it's your money. Like you can spend it however you want and wherever you find value, right? But yeah, I always feel weird when you see giant people doing it and not really delivering much additional value for that thing.
And I think that for me personally, it just hasn't been the right fit. But if I ever did start something like streaming, I think that's where it makes more sense, because you're delivering that content in a live chat way, and there is a mechanism for like paying members to be able to have highlighted comments or things like that are of more meaningful value when you're doing things in like a live stream or a live chat method. But that's just not what I've done up to date.
Yeah. All right. Apologies to Tiffany Ferg.
You keep saying this, people are going to think like it's real, like we ask people.
Yeah, well, she just couldn't come on. I guess she's too busy for us. Like, I was a little insulted, honestly.
He's lying.
She's not taking a break from YouTube. She's just talking about other people.
Other people taking a break from YouTube. Yeah.
All right. Thank you for tuning in.
I hope this was interesting.
I hope we didn't share any confidential information.
We're canceled by YouTube. All our videos are demonetized now. No, I'm just kidding.
That would be funny. Not really. All right. But thank you for tuning in. See you next Taco Tuesday.
Thanks so much for watching. See y'all later.
Bye.
Bye.